Hello, everybody. And so I've been really looking at all of this unfolding, and it just doesn't seem to get any better, unfortunately. And so the Pentagon is looking to provide up to 100,000 body bags for civilians in the virus outbreak. So it just seems like it just goes on and on and on. Now, what I do know before I read this is that they say it goes in waves. And so when it started in Wuhan, then it moved from Wuhan to New York, and that New York saying that LA County is supposed to be the new New York, and then they were looking at Louisiana, the New Orleans area, how it has really taken hold there, and in Washington. Um, it was in a nursing home where a lot of elderly patients um, experienced this outbreak, and then it's just been moving, and that's when they started implementing the social distancing and the lockdown. It was projected that there would be probably a total of 81,000. Then it went started at 38,000, then it went from 38,000 to 81,000, and then as high as 162,000 at the end of July, and then it went a little higher at 200,000 at the end of July. That is projected. That will either contract it, and some of those people may end up succumbing to this virus. And there has been a lot of deaths. And so that is why the Pentagon is looking at providing up to 100. They're wanting them, FEMA rather, um, is asking for 100,000 body bags. That's who's asking for this. And so it is also projected that at more than 2.2 million at the end of the year will have contracted this virus. So Bloomberg had reported earlier that the Pentagon was looking at buying more body bags, and it will draw some from a stockpile that they had, which was of, I believe, if I can read here, the print is pretty light, and so it says 50,000. And so they're going to need more than that, is what it's looking like, unfortunately. And so out of Washington, the Pentagon is looking to provide 100,000 body bags for the use of civilian authorities as the coronavirus outbreak worsens in the U.S., with a high death toll expected in the coming weeks. And so this is, as of now, in real time. So the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is better known as FEMA, has requested these body bags of 100,000 such bags to the U.S. Department of Defense, a Pentagon official told Reuters on Wednesday. The Defense Logistics Agency, DLA, is working with the current contractor on additional capacity, the officials have said. And so the initial delivery will come from DLA stocks as the contractor ramps up the production, according to the official, who spoke on condition of anonymity. The DLA does not yet have a specific delivery date request from FEMA, but the agency wants the bags as soon as they are ready. And so Bloomberg had reported earlier that the Pentagon was looking at buying more body bags as well. And so this is very disturbing to hear this, but these body bags are for the U.S., and it's for a lot of people that are civilians that may succumb to this virus. And so a lot have already. And New York is really dealing with this situation very, very hard. And they have like limited resources. They have even nurses and doctors who won't go home to their families because they're afraid they're going to bring something home to their families and subject them to this. They also feel that they're on the front lines and their health is endangered. Some of them have themselves caught or contracted the virus. They don't have enough face masks. They don't have enough proper gear, medical wear to protect their bodies from contracting the virus. And so that has been the going complaint, and which is legitimate, that has been a problem with most of the medical hospitals, all around the country have complained about this. And then some of the countries that are not as established don't have enough resources, or maybe don't have enough financial background as to support their resources, are also in danger of succumbing to this virus, or having a multiple number of people come down with this, unfortunately. And so this is very, very, very serious, and it's very sad. Um, and so from what I've heard, it goes in waves. And now there's this thing where they're trying to look at people who might be carrying the virus and walking around with it. They're asymptomatic, and they may not have, the symptoms like someone who has trouble breathing, or they have high fevers or runny nose or whatnot. There may be some people who they're able to carry the virus a little longer, and they may even be a little bit stronger immune wise, but still, I did read some disturbing things that even with that, sometimes people, they spread it to their family members. They spread it to people who are not as able to handle the virus, and they end up dying of it. So it says that a FEMA spokesman cited by Bloomberg said that the agency was making prudent plans for the future needs, which include preparations for mortuary contingencies and from the U.S. states. And so troop support unit of the DLA is responsible for managing the Pentagon stockpile of the green nylon 94-inch by 38-inch body bags, which are normally used in war zones. And so the development comes as the U.S. is looking at increasing numbers of deaths from the coronavirus outbreak. And the tally is showing more than 4,500 deaths over 200,000 infections in the country. And so Donald Trump and his top healthcare advisors urge Americans to follow the strict social distancing measures ahead of a tough 2 weeks, which is here in April, that they could see at least 100,000 deaths of people that succumb to this coronavirus, or this COVID-19. And so that is the grim reality of this situation. And so that is the reason why they're not opening anything back up April 12th, as Donald Trump was hoping for, that maybe that this virus would calm down, and that maybe the numbers would be lower. But the reality of it, and he is seeing that more stricter measures are in place. That also, I realized they were stressing, political officials, especially Eric Garcetti, was stressing that people, when they go out to do their essential, like shopping for food, or you're shopping for your medicine, or you're going to do your essential buying, that you wear a face mask. Because you are exposing yourself, you're getting closer to the public, even though you're doing the social distancing, or 3 or 6 feet away from individuals. People are still talking, people are still moving around, they're mobile, and you don't know who's coughing, who's sneezing, who has something on them that could spread in the air or whatnot. And having a mask is essential now in terms of health concerns. So this just came in, and I have more that there are live updates. They've been giving them around the clock, around like every hour. Of if you want to stay on this, they also have links where I don't know if most times they'll have a link and it'll say coronavirus update, and you can look and see the numbers. You can look and see your area and who's been affected, and so they've been pretty good about that. And so it'll say coronavirus news and live updates, and then they also have a strip at the bottom. And even in the front, like if I click on Yahoo, there at the top it says coronavirus updates, and then there's a section that says coronavirus U.S. leads the world. 216 cases. Unemployment claims have now hit 6.6 million in terms of people who have become unemployed, or they are not able to, this is the other thing that has happened recently where this is a new month of April, and most people's rent was due, maybe their mortgage or their car payments or things were due, and this is really hard financially on people as well. And so that's another problem. And so almost everything in the news, if it isn't other things, it talks about people who have had symptoms or who have not followed the rules and what they've done to try to stay on them. Other countries that are battling this, people whom have been panic buying. I noticed that they've been trying to change the hours at the stores so that people can shop at certain hours in the morning, and then by afternoon, you'll see the lines. People have to stand 6 feet away from one another and stand in longer lines. Stores that weren't practicing that are now all practicing that because of the governor, Gavin Newsom, and so now it is becoming a thing, and it's really sad, but this is the world we're living in now, and it has to do with the COVID-19. And so almost every other news link or article or feed or whatever you see has something to do with the coronavirus of some sort, or somebody that is talking about it, or maybe talking about something to do while you're social distancing or while you're quarantining yourself at home to keep yourself at ease, at least, or safe as possible as you can. And so, like right here, this article is saying that we are on the verge of massive collapse, and ex-Energy Secretary Perry says COVID-19. And a lot of people are right now worried because not only because of the virus, but because of the oil industry, and so that has also become an issue. I don't know if anybody's noticed, like even just in the Los Angeles area, I noticed that the gas prices have gone down significantly, and some may say, "Oh, well, that's great," but you can't really, I mean, that would have been nice if there was no virus and you were going to work. And we're not doing that, are we, right now? And so we're in the middle of a pandemic. You're not going to work, and you're not having to really be on the road as much unless you're buying your essentials, and you're at home quarantining. And so now the gas is a lot cheaper, or it has gone down in some areas. Some areas have reported their gas has gone down as low as 99 cents a gallon. And so former Energy Secretary Rick Perry believes that the oil industry could collapse because the dramatic decrease in the demand of worldwide is caused by the coronavirus outbreak and a steep decline in the prices. And so our capacity is full. The Saudis are flooding this market with cheap oil. And so Perry's told Fox News host Tucker Carlson on Tuesday night, "I'm telling you that we are on the verge of a massive collapse of the industry that we worked awfully hard over the course of the last 3 to 4 years to build up. to the #1 oil and gas producing country in the world, giving Americans some affordable energy resources. So many U.S. states and countries around the world have ordered their citizens to stay in home to contain this virus, and the airlines have dramatically cut back on flights as the number of passengers have fallen are falling off. Fewer cars are on the road and planes in the sky means far less demand for oil. So coupled with the dispute between the Saudis and Russia, that has resulted in an oil surplus. So the price of crude as well as gasoline has plunged, and so the national average for gas in the U.S. is now $2 a gallon and below $2 a gallon. And so I have seen at the gas stations the dramatic change in the drop in gas. And so I don't know if people have noticed that when you're out buying your essentials, you look at some of the gas stations, some say 3, but some say 2. And we're starting to see that gradually. And so Perry, a former governor of oil producing Texas, said that could destroy the smaller independent companies and hurt the people who demand on them for jobs. And so there is this host of Americans who their entire future, taking care of their family, paying their mortgages, is tied directly to the energy industry, Perry said. So it's a driver of the massive amount of our American economy. And he said the loss of those smaller companies would have a long-term consequence for American consumers. And so if we woke up a year from now and there were 5 big companies, because of all of these independent ones that were gone of the business, I would suggest that would make a lot of Americans really nervous, he said. So Perry's concern appeared present Wednesday after the Whitening Petroleum Corporation announced its filing for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy and announcing that the decision of the CEO, Bradley Hawley, cited the severe downturn in oil and gas prices driven by an uncertainty around the duration of the Saudi and Russia oil price war and the COVID-19 pandemic as well. And so, and you can see this statement right here on Twitter as well. And so you can also see the document from Whiting Petroleum Corporation on Twitter as well. So as one of the measures to address the crisis, Perry said that he would advise President Donald Trump to tell the refineries to only use U.S. crude oil for 60 to 90 days. So Perry said that would give a buffer to the market and send a clear message that we're just not going to let foreign oil flow in here and burst our oil industry. So U.S. national security is at stake, Perry said. So if our independent operators who have led the shale revolution, who have made America the #1 gas producing country in the world, if we lose that, we go back to 1974, Perry said. So I remember what was like, or what that was like, where we were beholden to countries that didn't necessarily have our best interests in mind. So Perry also suggested that the Treasury Department should buy up oil futures to help buoy the industry. So Perry was one of the longest surviving members of the Trump cabinet before he resigned in October amid the scrutiny of his role in the Ukraine scandal that led to Trump's impeachment. And so this has more than 3,914 comments on the oil war that is going on. So there's a war within wars going on. And so it's affecting the U.S. as well. And so you've seen it here, and there's more to come. And stay tuned. I have another video, and boy, do I have another video. Having said that, I'm going to let this one go. What do you think about what is going on? It is crazy. We have the body bags that FEMA is requesting because of more deaths in the U.S. And then we have the issue with the oil industry being in jeopardy, ravaged because of COVID-19, a massive collapse. That's just right around the corner. And if you pay close attention, gas is probably as cheap as it's ever been in a long time. Having said that, thanks for listening.